Video no masa, ni video no. Police officer, who you say? Huh? Police officer, who you say? Let me stop that. Policeman, let me stop that. Huh?
Hello, good evening. You're welcome to Health Insight. Today, I'll be reacting to this viral video about a policeman who was involved in an accident whilst carrying drugs. I believe that some things were not done right from the health perspective. What are these things? Don't go away. Now let's take a look at the video. The reason why I believe that certain things were not done right at that moment from the health perspective. I believe that from the health perspective, there are certain things that could have taken priority than any other thing at that moment, that the policeman was severely hurt or severely involved in an accident. Let's take a look at it.
I don't know, yes, sir. Video no masa, ni video no. Police officer, who you say? Huh? Police officer, who you say? Let me stop that. Policeman, let me stop that. Huh? Let me stop that. Policeman. Huh? Policeman. As a police officer, policeman. Master, what you know? Hello, Agman.
Again, you could see that the guy's hand was almost chopped off. He was profusely bleeding. And the reason why I believe that could have taken a priority is the following. That part of the hands consists of the radial and the ulnar arteries, which carries oxygenated blood to the body. And so when it happens that the person was severely injured on that part, that means that there's a possibility of the radial and the ulnar artery being damaged. And so when it gets damaged, what happens again? The person has a higher possibility of bleeding, as was very obvious in the video. So after the person has bled profusely, what happens? There's lack of blood supply to various vital organs, and so what happens? Shock happens. So you see the guy was moving up and down. He was anxious, and in a minute you could say that the person will go off. That is, the person will go into shock, and that is it. Because the ulnar and the radial artery is found at this site, there's a higher possibility, and obviously you could see that the arteries were damaged. And so what can happen? Severe bleeding could have happened, and he could have gone into shock, meaning that blood supply to the vital organs, just for example the brain, would have been compromised, and so he could have easily gone into shock. And so we believe that that could have been the priority than any other thing on that accident scene. Now after the shock, what else? Is death. If the policeman had gone into shock and prompt intervention had not taken place, that means that the policeman could have died, and so there will be no investigations. But because the arteries and the veins are all open, there's higher possibility of what we call sepsis, that's severe infection, or infection that occurs throughout the whole body, because there could have been particles, bacteria, viruses entering the damaged veins and arteries, causing that sepsis, which could have led the policeman to death. So let's assume that any of these did not occur, like the death, infections, and the bleeding profusely, and the shock did not occur. Now, what could have occurred? Know that that part of the hand contains the median, the radial, and the ulnar nerves, and so the policeman could have lost sensation at that place, meaning that the policeman could have lost the sensory nerves that controls that part of the hand, meaning that he will lose sensation of the place. Besides that, the policeman could have lost also the motor function of the hands, and would have found it very difficult going about his normal business, going about his work, and so that would have rendered him incapacitated, meaning that there's no way he could use that hand to work. And so, if he has children, wives, and other dependents, meaning that he's going to find it very difficult to look after them, and that could lead to serious family crisis, which has a tendency to also lead to serious mental issues. Also, when the police could have had no ability to supply blood to that part, that means that there's higher possibility of the policeman having that part of the hand amputated, and we all know what would have happened. It could have led to serious physical issues, serious family issues, because there's no way the policeman could have worked and also take care of his dependents, like the children and the wife. And besides that, that could have also led to a serious mental issue. So I believe that certain priorities could have been set at that moment from the health perspective, even though the investigation, the police, and all that are very important. We believe that at that moment, at that accident scene, priorities could have been set. Bleeding could have been stopped, or interventions to stop bleeding could have been the priority. And besides that, getting the policeman down and making sure that he was fine could have been the priority. You could clearly see in a video that he was going up and down. That should tell you that the policeman was severely in pain. Also, he was anxious. And these combinations can really bring the person down. And the next moment, the person was off. And if there's no prompt intervention, that could lead to death. And that is it. If the person had died, there will be no investigations. There will be nobody to help in investigation. And so we believe that when we come across such accident scene, making sure that the person's health first is very important. If you know that you can't help the person as far as the injury is concerned, you call the ambulance, you call the police, and they take it from there.
Thank you very much, and we encourage you to follow us on all our social media handles, and we'll be grateful. And we also entreat you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, comment in the comment section, and we'll be glad to answer them. Thank you very much.